Law enforcement officers are entrusted with the power to conduct investigations, make arrests, perform searches and seizures of persons and their belongings, and occasionally use lethal force in the line of duty. But this power must be exercised within the boundaries of the law. The Fourth Amendment, along with case law, establishes these boundaries.
In the next few minutes, we'll show you reenactments of actual arrests that exceeded those boundaries of authority and resulted in lawsuits against our officers and the municipalities that employed them.
We'll outline specifically the case laws that apply with each scenario and where the arresting officer went wrong. Our purpose is to educate you, our law enforcement officers, so that you will be better empowered to fulfill your duties and your service to the public.
Our first scenario is an arrest resulting from a minor traffic violation.
The officer is running radar in a residential area. A female subject, known to the officer, coasts through a stop sign.
There goes Mary Jones again.
Can I help you, officer?
Yes, sir. Your wife just ran a stop sign. I need to talk to her.
No, sir. She can't come out. This is our home.
Well, she's broken the law and I need her to sign her citation.
No, sir. You're not coming in here.
Move. Hey! Ma'am, you need to come with me.
No, I don't have to come with you.
Oh, you're coming with me.
No! I didn't. But I made it home. Ow!
Let's go.
I don't.
I'm going to issue a citation for failure to stop for a stop sign. If you'll sign the ticket, I can let you go. All right, I'm going to get you out of the car, but take the handcuffs off and let you sign the ticket. And here's your citation for failure to stop for the stop sign, and you just sign right here by this X. Thank you.
Recent case law dictates the following. It is the basic principle of Fourth Amendment law that searches and seizures inside a home without a warrant are presumptively unreasonable. The existence of certain exigent circumstances may overcome the presumption of unreasonableness that attaches to all warrantless home entries. In order for the exigent circumstances to exist, there must be a serious offense coupled with the existence of an immediate and pressing concern, such as destruction of evidence, officer or public safety, or the possibility of imminent escape.
In this case, the attended arrest was for a traffic misdemeanor committed by a subject with whom the officer was acquainted. The subject fled to her family home from which there was no exit. The risk of flight was somewhere between low and non-existent. There was no evidence which could have potentially been destroyed, and there were no officer safety concerns. In view of these facts, there were no exigent circumstances to justify a warrantless entry, and a reasonable officer should have known this.
When the husband refused the officer admission to the home, the officer could have returned to the patrol car to call in the tag number of the woman's vehicle. Or in this case, the officer knew who the woman was. The citation could have been issued and left with the husband at the residence, or the officer could have simply noted that Miss Jones refused to sign the citation.
The next case started out as a simple truancy call.
Local police receive a call from a citizen claiming her neighbor's teenage boys are ditching school. The caller claims this happens frequently and insists on police response. An officer is dispatched.
Dude, the police are coming.
Don't worry, he can't come in.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Boys, it's the police! Open the door! Open the door, boys!
When the teens refuse to open the door, the officer determines the need to contact the supervisor.
Sir, I have a situation here. I've got 2 truants in their house. They refuse to open the door. Stop it!
While the officer and the supervisor discuss the situation, the boys continue to taunt the officer.
Stop it! Don't do that! Open the door! If they open those curtains and flip me off again, I'm gonna drag their butts to jail. That's it! Get out of here! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Give me your hands! Put your hands behind your back!
Both juveniles were arrested for obstructing an officer and resisting arrest. The officer contacts the parent and releases both subjects to their mother.
You can contact their parents and have them come to 2000 Churchill so they can be released. Thank you.
As with the first case, it is the basic principle of the Fourth Amendment law that searches and seizures inside a home without a warrant are presumptively unreasonable. The existence of certain exigent circumstances may overcome the presumption of unreasonableness that attaches to all warrantless home entries. In order for the exigent circumstances to exist, there must be a serious offense coupled with the existence of an immediate and pressing concern, such as destruction of evidence, officer or public safety, or the possibility of imminent escape.
In this case, if there was an offense, the intended arrest would be for truancy. There was no evidence which could have been potentially destroyed, and there were no officer safety concerns. In view of these facts, there were no exigent circumstances to justify a warrantless entry, and a reasonable officer should have known this.
The officer allowed emotions to get in the way. After all, the boys were taunting the officer.
Instead of contacting the parents after arresting the boys, perhaps the officer should have contacted them first. The boys were blocked from exiting the house. You might say they were under house arrest. Upon arrival of the parent, the truancy issue could have been addressed, as well as their bad behavior.
In the next reenactment, we're addressing an issue I'm sure most of you have already experienced: failure to ID. Let's have a look.
During routine patrol, the officer spots a subject walking along the rural road, which strikes the officer as unusual behavior.
Sir, come over here.
Why? I'm just walking home.
There is no suspicion of criminal activity, and the subject does not appear to be intoxicated or in distress.
Hey, let's see some ID.
I just want to go home. Just let me walk home.
Stop right now. If you don't stop, I'm prepared to use a taser on you.
I'm just walking home.
You're under arrest. Turn around.
What are you talking about?
You're under arrest for obstructing an officer.
What are you talking about?
Put your hand behind your back.
This is insane.
Put your hand behind your back.
There is no Oklahoma statute requiring citizens to provide identification upon demand of a peace officer. The existence of certain exigent circumstances may overcome the presumption of unreasonableness that attaches to a warrantless arrest. In order for the exigent circumstances to exist, there must be a serious offense coupled with the existence of an immediate and pressing concern, such as destruction of evidence, officer or public safety, or the possibility of imminent escape.
Many officers rely on the obstructing statute when it comes to dealing with subjects refusing to identify themselves. Although citizens are prohibited from obstructing a law enforcement officer during the course of his duty, a failure to produce identification in and of itself is not a violation of the law. If an officer is conducting an investigation and has reasonable suspicion the subject is involved in criminal activity, then a failure or refusal to identify himself may be construed as obstruction. So an arrest is permitted for obstruction of a public officer when there is reasonable suspicion that the person is involved in criminal activity, when an ID request is to verify a person's name, and when an ID request is refused.
So even though the officer was suspicious of the subject, the officer had no reason to suspect criminal activity. There were no calls reporting a nearby robbery or other criminal activity. The officer should have let him go.
The next case is either much ado about nothing or a lot about an officer's acute sense of an unseen crime.
An officer responds to a loud argument at a residence.
10-4, I'll be en route.
When the officer arrives, there is no indication of an argument.
Yeah, what is it?
I'm here to respond to a domestic situation where you and your wife having a loud argument.
That's none of your business.
Okay, is she here? Can I talk with her and get her side of the
She's
story?
not here, she's gone.
She's not around, I can't speak with her at all?
The officer attempts to look past the subject to see if there are signs of violence.
I said that's none of your business.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and step out here?
No, I'm not stepping out.
Sir, you need to obey a lawful order. Step outside and talk with me right now.
I'm not going anywhere with you. Hey, okay. Okay. Oh,
Put your hand behind your back. Calm down. Hey.
Let me go.
Hold still.
Let me go.
You're under arrest for obstructing an officer. Come on.
The subject is charged with resisting, evading, or obstructing an officer.
Come on. Over here. Stand back. Get in.
Recent case law dictates the following. Police can only enter a home without a warrant with voluntary consent of the owner or a third party with apparent authority over the premises. Police must have exigent circumstances and probable cause or a warrant, no matter whether the seizure is an investigatory stop or arrest. Probable cause is established where substantial probability exists that the suspect committed a crime requiring something more than suspicion.
In determining whether the risk of personal danger creates exigent circumstances, there is a two-part test. Whether the officer has an objectively reasonable basis to believe there is an immediate need to protect the lives or safety of himself or others, and the manner and scope of the search is reasonable. A warrantless arrest may also be justified if the officer was acting in a community caretaking role. This function may include restraining an intoxicated person or transporting an individual to safety.
In the actual case, the officer claimed he had probable cause to arrest the subject for failure to obey a lawful order, specifically the order to exit the house. The officer admitted he didn't have probable cause to believe the subject had committed domestic violence-related offense. There were no exigent circumstances that justified ordering the subject out of the house, nor was the officer performing a caretaker role. Because the order was not lawful, the subject's refusal to obey could not justify his arrest.
Although it seemed to the officer that the subject may have harmed his wife, the officer had no proof of that. And the report of a loud argument in the home could have come from a neighbor who just wanted to cause trouble. There are times when an officer's best intentions are not the best course of action.
An arrest may bring serious repercussions to a person's life, whether or not that person is eventually found not guilty or ever brought to trial.
Accordingly, officers must exercise critical judgment in making arrests. Such judgment includes consideration for the arrestee and bystanders, the time, place, location of the arrest, and the use of force are additional factors to consider.
Officers should also consider alternatives to arrest consistent with carrying out their law enforcement mission.
Their law enforcement mission, after all, is to protect and to serve.
Finding those alternatives to arrest is your challenge, but you may find that they will serve you well.
OMAG recognizes the need for further training regarding search and seizure, arrest authority, and use of force. We are committed to assist your agency through training, publications, and policy development.